Hey, it is Monday at 11 a.m. Central Time. So I'm talking about overcoming overwhelm. This is a continuation of a series I've been doing, talking about different ways we can have more peace. I've been sharing tips and ideas and questions that we can ask so we can have more peace, so you can know at the end of the day. To me, what overcoming overwhelm means is I have peace about where I am right now, that I'm where I need to be. I'm doing my business the way I need to be doing my business. I'm taking the actions that I need to take in my life. I'm where I need to be in relationships. So instead of second guessing everything, instead of thinking I'm off track in life, that causes a lot of overwhelm. Like maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be right now. Maybe I'm behind, or maybe I'm missing out on things. So when we're overcoming that, I've been talking about different areas in our life that we can use the tools and questions to get back on track. And today I'm going to be talking about getting your fear under control, because overwhelm is an emotion and fear is a huge driver of that. And this is something when I work with clients, we spend a lot of time. It's one of the major areas that we work on together, is understanding your emotions. We have this body and it's reacting all the time with emotions. It's reacting to stimuli, it's reacting to circumstances, it's reacting to situations in our own personal lives and on the global scale. And most people have no idea what to do with emotions. And they come at us constantly. And if we don't deal with them, they don't go anywhere. And so every day we have circumstances and situations, we have good things and bad things happening. And when you know how to process that, you kind of keep it clear. But most of the time we learned how to stuff it or ignore it or self-medicate or numb it. And so it piles up and it becomes overwhelming, because it's stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff until you can't anymore. And it comes out in anger or shutting down or anxiety or even panic attacks. A lot of clients that I work with experience that because they didn't know what to do with the emotion, because we aren't taught, we don't talk about these things, and they build up. So that's a thing that I spend a lot of time working with people on, and really showing you how to do it without me, how to do it on your own going forward in your life. I'll talk about that more March 29th at the workshop that I'm doing, Kick Overwhelm to the Curb. And I'm going to try to kind of condense some information into the next 15 or 20 minutes about getting fear under control. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about what fear is, because a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I have anxiety, I have fear, I have overwhelm, I want them gone forever. I want you to magically make them go away. But fear is really a wonderful emotion to protect us in times of danger. What happens is we get stuck there. So we get stuck in these fear responses, which cause a ton of stress in our bodies and in our lives all the time. I say it's like a switch. It's supposed to go on when there's a real danger in your life, and then it's supposed to go off. And when you're overwhelmed, it's on all the time. And this causes a ton of damage to our health, definitely to our mental health, and literally physically to our bodies. There's also right now, as of when I'm recording this, a global scary situation between Russia and Ukraine. And those things affect us the same way. So we need to talk about that. A lot of people say, fear is false evidence appearing real. And that can be the case when we have things that we're afraid of, like what will people think of us, or they're not going to like me. But then we have real situations like no money in the bank account or a global crisis, and it is real. So, what do you do with it? So here are some things to know about fear. And thank you if you're watching this, and if you're watching on the replay and you want to comment or anything, that would be fantastic. If you have any questions, I will look at those. So fear is not a bad emotion that we want to eliminate entirely. Like I just said, it's very helpful. When you're in fear, when there's a moment of danger, your eyes narrow so that you can focus. You get laser focused on things. Your blood starts pumping so that you can run if you need to. You've heard of people lifting, vehicles or things like, and your adrenaline pumps, and you're ready for that moment of whatever is going to be needed in that moment. And it's very helpful if there's real danger. If those things get stuck on, people a lot of times have symptoms like I can't concentrate, I can't focus, they can't relax, you can't sleep, you just feel like you're in that fight or flight all the time. It affects different people different ways. So if you have been listening to anything lately, I think it's wonderful. People are having these conversations about fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn that people go into when they're afraid or when an emotion hits them really strongly. So people respond differently. Some people are going to get angry and fight. Some people are going to kind of shut down and freeze. Some people are going to be sad, and some people are going to feel helpless. And you can also feel all of the above. Those are ways, as you're reading about the war with Russia and Ukraine, you might be experiencing some of those. It's just a normal, natural emotion that happens in response to those things. It might be when you need to set a boundary with someone, or you need to have a hard conversation, or you need to raise your prices in your business. We can have those feelings. And one thing that's really important and powerful is to learn yourself. Learn what you do. Get curious about how you respond to fear, how you respond to your brain is perceiving as danger, even if it isn't necessarily. The circumstance our mind hates the most is uncertainty. We would rather have bad news than being uncertain. It creates fear. And there's so much in our world today that's totally uncertain that it's almost in the atmosphere that there's this fear. And for anybody who has past trauma or past experiences of really scary times in their lives, that uncertainty and the things happening globally and the things happening, around us that can bring that up, anything that isn't healed or resolved in us, the current fear brings up the old fear. So that's something that you can be aware of. If you find yourself the circumstance doesn't require this big response and you find yourself with a big response, that's because it's bringing up old things that are asking to be resolved. And that's helpful to know. When I work with, clients that have trauma, a lot of times it's a small thing that's happening, that they're experiencing, but it's this huge emotion. That's because sometime in the past, there was a huge emotion attached to it. So if you know that, my hope in sharing this is that you will have compassion with yourself. You won't be beating yourself up about that. You're not crazy. It's really normal. The other thing is that fear gets stored in our bodies. It doesn't go anywhere till we address it, until we resolve it. So those are some things to know, not just about fear, but about all emotions. And when you know that, you can my hope is you can begin to operate differently around it and be oh, okay, if I do have a big emotion from a small thing, I need to figure out what's going on. And if I do think, okay, I'm going to work on my mindset, I'm going to work really hard so I'm not scared. Just know it's just a normal emotion. It's just going to come. You're never going to get to a point where you're never going to be scared. Successful people know what to do with their fear, right? They know how to process their emotions and kind of be in control. It's like we're driving a vehicle. Well, do you know how to drive this vehicle and what it's doing and how it's operating? Or is it doing its own thing and you're just I need to quit this. I need to make this stop. If you're trying to make it stop because it's just overwhelming, then you're not working with it and you're not understanding yourself and how you're responding to things. And here are some ways that you can get your fear under control right now. And when I work with clients, we do this in specific ways to specific situations that you're, dealing with. But here are a bunch of steps you can take. You can pick, one that resonates more if you want, but don't judge it. Don't judge the fear. A lot of times when people have emotions, they judge themselves. Your logical brain knows maybe the circumstance doesn't justify the emotion. And so you can beat yourself up and be, well, I shouldn't be scared of this. I shouldn't be thinking this. I don't know why I'm responding so much. Why can't I just make it go away? And that's not helpful. So don't judge it. It's just like a scared animal or a scared kid. When you beat yourself up, you actually make it worse. You can have compassion with yourself. It's really normal. Like I said, our minds, we love when things are predictable. We love when things are safe. We love when we know everything is going to work out. And that's just not the case in, a lot of us in our personal lives, things happening, and for sure on a global scale right now. So it's just normal that it's going to be there. Again, when you can process it, you're going to be in a better mental space than people who aren't processing it. So pay attention in your life to when it happens. A lot of times we're ignoring our body. We're ignoring it until it's really loud. I said it's like a little kid, and probably because I have 4 kids, they would go, mom, mom, mom. And then if I didn't answer them, they would get louder. And then if I really was busy and wasn't paying attention to them, they would do something to get my attention. And our emotions can be really similar. So pay attention. Don't wait for it to get so big in panic mode that it's huge and you can't ignore it. Start paying attention to when you're on social media, or when you're having a conversation with someone, or you're doing something throughout your day. Start paying attention to your body. Pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to how it's responding, because you're going to be able to learn yourself, learn how to operate, this body that we have like a machine, but it's not. Pay attention and notice how different things are making you feel. And like I mentioned, social media, we want to be responsible. We want to know what's going on in the world. And we want to, be educated about the news. But if we notice, I get educated and then I go down a rabbit hole, or then I read more and more articles, maybe looking for some kind of comfort, and you're not getting it from the news and you're just feeling anxious. Pay attention to that. There's a balance between being informed and just getting everybody's comments and opinions and hateful things on social media that just make us feel terrible and drained and anxious. And your body will show you. So pay attention to your body and notice those things and know that it's okay. Find out some information, and then you do not have to continue to consume information and people's opinions and articles that are just feeding you fear and putting you in a space that doesn't feel good. It's not helpful. That's the other thing, is sometimes, a terrible thing is happening in somebody else's life or in the world, and we think like, well, I need to be upset about this because what's happening is upsetting. And of course, we're going to be upset about what's happening, but it's not helpful for me to be scared. If I want to help people in my community, if I want to help people around me, if I want to be helpful in my family, then it's helpful for me to process my stuff so I can show up to them the way they need me to. If they're scared and I'm scared, I'm not in a position to help anybody. So we process what's happening. You can be able to decide what's an empowered thing you do. Is there an organization you can give to? Is there somebody around you who has family in those areas that you can encourage? Once you process your fear, you're in a better position to help them. Find a place, a way to help or donate. That's an empowering position to be in. That's the opposite of fear, when you can take action that's helpful. Google an organization, ask people, reach out to a friend who's hurting, take an action that's going to help you get out of the circumstance. The other thing to do when you're in fear is you might need to sleep more. And sleep is very helpful. It detoxes us. It gets stress hormones out of our body. So if your body is asking for more sleep, again, pay attention. You might need 20 minutes. You might need to go to bed 20 minutes earlier, or sleep in if you can, if these are possibilities, or take a nap on the weekends. A lot of times we judge ourselves for sleeping or needing to rest. And it's really just your body saying, hey, there's extra stress here. We need to get rid of it. We need some more rest to do that. So just keep that in mind if you're feeling more tired. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours. It can literally be 20 minutes. That's a really good amount of time for your body. The other thing that's really helpful is crying. So most people are like, yeah, I don't want to cry. But if you're feeling like you might cry, I mean, obviously you don't need to do it at work or in public or whatever, if that's not appropriate. set aside some time to cry. Crying is phenomenal scientific process in our bodies that detoxes. Our tears are actually like antibacterial and antimicrobial. It literally takes the stress hormone cortisol out of our bodies. It releases serotonin, which is a happy hormone, a good hormone. That's why you feel better after a good cry. So I would encourage you, if you've been feeling like that and maybe pushing that away or avoiding that, to give yourself some time, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever that looks like in your life. And don't ignore that emotion if that's coming up. So those are ways to like understand, more, pay attention to your body. Some really helpful things to do that take away stress and help fear go down are meditate or pray, journal, go for a walk, do things that make you feel better, and really sit with the emotion. Give yourself, set a timer for 10 minutes and just pay attention. How is this feeling? How is my body feeling? What's going on? What am I telling myself? What am I like ruminating on? Just start really paying attention to what's happening in your mind and your body. They're very connected, and fear happens in both places. It can become a cycle, and just stopping and pausing and paying attention is going to help you interrupt that cycle. And the last thing about getting fear under control is, if it's just something that's really big and really overwhelming, ask for help. A lot of people feel shame about asking for help, or think, okay, I'm just going to keep handling this and handling this and handling this until it gets really, really bad. But as you're paying attention, as you're doing these things and, thinking about how you feel, and if you're drained of your energy, and if you're, not able to relax and you're not able to sleep well, it's a totally honorable thing to ask for help and support. There are people, like me and lots of other people, that this is our work. This is what we do, is help people learn themselves and heal and learn how to process emotions so that you can have more peace and that you can feel better. So there's no shame in asking for help. I tell all of my clients, and I really believe this about everybody, it takes courage to ask for help. And it's a very brave thing. And it's a very honorable thing. And it works because you have somebody helping you. You don't have to do all this alone. You can even notice, where does your fear particularly happen in your body? Some people, it's more in their shoulders. A lot of people, it's in their chest, and you find yourself breathing shallowly. A lot of times it's in your stomach, and your stomach is just a knot. Some people, it's in their back. Begin to pay attention, because our thoughts are affecting our bodies, and our circumstances affect your bodies. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And if you're, finding yourself overwhelmed, please reach out. And absolutely, March 29th, like I've been sharing, I'm going to give a workbook and tips and processes to be able to kick overwhelm to the curb. And getting fear under control is a big part of that. So we're going to dive in a little more. It's a major part of healing, is being able to get our emotions under control and understand ourselves. So I'm going to leave info for the workshop. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, even if you're watching this after, and reach out to me. I love talking with people about this. It's important. It's important that you honor yourself, that you're not just shoving everything down because you've got to take care of other people. Take care of yourself, pay attention, notice, sit with yourself, give yourself some compassion today. Just because things are happening outside of us, just because we're in a scary time in history, doesn't mean we have to live in constant fear. We can have peace. We can feel empowered even during these times, because that's the best way we can serve and help other people. That's the best way we can show up with our families the way we want, is to be able to find out how we can get fear in ourselves under control, so that we can really support the people around us, really be who we want to be, and show up the way that we want to, and, not be a hot mess. So let me know how you're doing with this. If any of these things resonated, if you've already been doing these things, I would love to hear about it. And I will see you next Monday at 11 a.m. And I hope that you have a really good week.